Hey, welcome. Come on in, sit down. Let's talk about it. So let's start off. Real simple question. Tell me about yourself. What do I need to know to understand you?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. My name is Blake Allen, and I'm a current student at Brigham Young University. And I really like your question about what do you need to know to understand me personally, and is something that I've thought about a lot recently. One thing that I would say defines me is that I am a disciple of Jesus Christ. Living here in Utah, I'm sure you're familiar with LDS missions, and I just recently returned home from one where I had the opportunity for 2 years to give up that time of my life and dedicate it to the service of my church. And it prompted me to grow a lot, right? To grow closer to my faith and as well to learn more about service and how I can be a helping hand to everyone in the community. And so that's really a big part of who I am, is service and faith. And I believe really strongly in doing the right thing. And I want to succeed in life so that I can provide for a family, ultimately so that I don't have to worry as much about money and I can focus on things that are more important to me, such as service, as I demonstrated on my mission.
All right, I got it. Okay. So what can you offer us here? Really, what can you offer us?
Great question. One of the main things that I believe that I can offer to this company is a sense of this integrity. I have this innate sense of integrity where I want to get the job done and I want to get the job done right. And I believe in working, as hard as I can for whatever pay I receive. And so whether that's a position in marketing, whether it's working with people one-on-one, whether it's working behind the scenes on computers, whatever it is, I believe in giving it my all, contributing in any way that I can, and just fulfilling the role that I've been placed in, whichever that is that you decide to do.
All right, I like it. So tell me, let's get down to this. What are your limitations? I mean, think about it. What are your limitations for this job?
Great question. When it comes to limitations, the main one that comes to my mind is that I don't necessarily have experience in healthcare. I've worked for a law firm. I've taught at the Missionary Training Center. I have experience in landscape. I have experience in surgical assistance in a surgical facility, which is the closest experience that I have to healthcare, but that was more hands-on, setting up for surgeons, sanitizing materials, cleaning up afterwards. And so I don't have much of an experience on this side of what your company does with the medical field, as far as, the software and the technical side of things. And so that's something that I look forward to learning more about and applying the skills that I've learned in other areas of my life into this position, where I hope that this does not act as a limitation for very long, but something that I can continue to grow and succeed in your company.
All right. So let's go to the next question. Tell me, what are your ambitions for the future? Not just here. What are your ambitions for the future?
Yeah, great question. I think I touched on this a little bit before, but I want to be successful, right? I'm not going to lie and say, I'd rather just, money doesn't matter to me. I just want to be happy. And certainly it is true. I want to be happy, but I want to be able to be financially free one day, as I mentioned, so that I can serve, right? So I can serve others without worrying about finances, and that I can be a blessing in a sense to other people who may not be as fortunate. So I really hope to, work as hard as I can in this company, set myself apart, climb the ranks if I can in whatever way possible, and just be as successful as I can so that I can help other people and help them achieve their dreams and goals, so that we can all just, learn to love one another and live by that golden rule.
Okay, I got that down. Let me ask you this. Do you feel you have the potential to be a good leader? And why do you say that?
Yeah, absolutely. I do feel like I have the potential to be a good leader. In fact, I believe that is one of my strongest characteristics. And I demonstrated this on my mission. So, on my mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I had the opportunity for 2 years to travel to Australia, where it was complete volunteer service, where our mission was to teach others about the gospel of Jesus Christ. And in that experience, I had the opportunity to lead what we call a district, or kind of a team of 10 to 12 other missionaries and volunteers at a time, where I got the opportunity to hold them accountable, direct training exercises, and lead a group of missionaries in that area of our mission, which ranged in different geographical size. Eventually, I became a zone leader, where I managed all of a sudden a team of multiple teams of 10 to 12 my highest being about a team of 30 members where I manage them, again, keeping them accountable, helping them in their areas, supporting them emotionally with the work. In fact, I would travel around that zone and work one-on-one with those individuals to help them to manage their problems and be as successful as they could be. And finally, for a period of 6 months, I served as what you would call an assistant to the mission president, where I helped oversee our whole mission, 200 plus missionaries, where we would regularly meet with them, especially the elders or the other men in the mission. I would go on exchanges where I would meet with them, spend 24 hours with them as often as I could to help train them and coach them and really just become the best missionaries that they could be. And so that involved being with a variety of different individuals from a variety of cultures. I mean, my mission had missionaries from over 20 different countries, and that allowed me to learn to communicate with those people and to serve as a leader among people with that many different cultures, which is harder than you might imagine. And I'm sure that you could imagine the difficulty behind that. And that really is where I excelled in my leadership experience. And that is an example of how I can be a leader in your company as well.
All right, interesting. Now, how would you describe yourself in 3 adjectives? All right, 3 adjectives. And why did you choose those 3? All right,
3 adjectives. That is a great question. I would describe myself in 3 adjectives as hardworking, disciplined, and focused. I really take pride in being hardworking and disciplined. I'll be honest with you, I wasn't always the sharpest tool in the shed. In fact, I'm not even sure what the word adjective means. I hope I'm using those words correctly. But despite maybe not being the best academically in my whole life, I found that if I really put my mind to something and work hard and be focused and be diligent, I can accomplish those things. And it's something that I want to help other people learn as well. No matter what gifts, talents you're blessed with, through hard work, focus, and dedication, really you can accomplish anything that you set your mind to. And I really think that that's a mindset that the world needs to adopt today. And so those are the 3 adjectives that I would use to describe myself.
Interesting 3. All right, so tell me about a situation in the past in which you did not succeed. You actually failed. What did you learn and what would you do differently?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there have been so many times in my life where I have failed. And one of them actually is one of my last semesters in college, actually this past semester. I had an A throughout my whole Writing 150 class. And it was great. I was learning a lot. I had applied the skills that I learned. I was studying a lot. I was working really, really hard. And then came the final research proposal paper that we were writing, or excuse me, not the research proposal, but the final scholarly research essay that we wrote in a group. And our whole class, my group included, scored below a 70%. So my group had a D grade, which is not good. And what I wish I would have done differently is just work better with my group. I wish we would have communicated more effectively. I wish we would have met more often and been on the same page, and it is something that I deeply regret. But one way that I was able to bounce back from this was our teacher gave us the opportunity to argue for what grade we should receive in the class, because my grade had dropped from an A all the way down to a C because of that one grade. And so I was able to send her a 2-page essay articulating why I believe that I still deserved an A. And I worked really hard at this. I used all the principles that I learned in the class with rhetorical tools and different tools that we use and that we learn in this environment of Writing 150. And what I did was I sent her this email, and in return she gave me an A in the class, which was an awesome way for me to be able to bounce back from this minor setback. Oh, sorry, struggling to hear you there for a second.
All right, let's dig a little deeper here. And what would you do if you detected that a peer was falsifying expense records? As a manager, let's say they're another manager of another department, or could even be a peer, what would you do in that situation?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think situations like that happen more common than we think. And there's multiple different ways of handling it. Obviously, it's important that we just don't let that thing go, right? And it is important to let higher level management know about that as well. But I think first and foremost, it's important to talk to that individual, to let them know that I know what's going on. maybe express my concerns, understand where they're coming from, and take action from there. Of course, it's not something that I'm going to let them confide in me and I'm going to keep it a secret, but I'll be open and honest. So I'll say, hey, this isn't good. Like, we've got to let someone know about this. But before I do, I mean, just help me understand what was going on. What can I help you with? How can we work through this together? And maybe even come forward together and talk about this with upper level management, so that it can just be the most effective, or that we can just work through this together. Because too often there are times in life where we hear about something, a situation like this, and we go and we tattle, and it, hurts relationships. And I think there's ways to work around that, while also going through the prior chain of communication, or the proper chain of communication, to let authorized individuals be aware of the situation, while also maintaining a positive relationship with that offender.
All right, okay, got it. So I see here in your resume that you've taken a public speaking class. Tell me about your public speaking skills, which you'll need here, and about your strengths and your weaknesses.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. I love public speaking. That was one of, if not my favorite classes that I took at BYU. And I actually had the opportunity to compete in what's called the Sloan Speech Showcase at Brigham Young University, where I received an award as a Bateman semifinalist. So I was a semifinalist for that speech showcase, demonstrating my skills as a public speaker. I think some of my skills are, I'm very enthusiastic. When I talk about things that I'm passionate about, I show it. And it doesn't feel like I'm reading a script, or that I'm, nervous or scared, but I'm really confident and I believe what I'm saying. Some things that I want to work on are longer pauses for emphasis. I sometimes have the habit to kind of sway back and forth, and some other minor things. But overall, I love public speaking, and it has been a great benefit to me in my life.
All right, final question here. If you were shrunk to the size of a pencil, now, go with me on this one. You were shrunk to the size of a pencil. You were the size of a pencil. You were put into an empty blender. How would you get out? Okay? How would you get out?
That is a great question, and one that I've never considered before. But I think that if I was shrunk down to the size of a pencil, I would probably just bang on the glass. I would hope that I would have that little metal piece of the pencil next to me, bang on the glass, hopefully get someone's attention, and say, oh my goodness, there's an alive pencil in that blender. We've got to get him out of here and donate him to science or something. Hopefully that would get me out of there. Otherwise, I don't know how I would. I feel like that is my only strategy that could get me out alive.